WWE Crown Jewel 2025 started off like a typical WWE pay-per-view. Rough. But here's what happened next. The second half hit a level that completely changed what this show became and was, for me at least, WWE's best pay-per-view this year. Roman Reigns versus Bronson Reed in an Australian street fight was fine until it wasn't. The pacing instructor worked through most of this, and they had something going with the layout and how they were building things. But then late in the match, the interference started and it became a problem. And it wasn't just interference. This turned into a whole segment inside of the match. I thought it overstayed its welcome and it dragged the match down when they should have been building to the finish. For something that was on track and then lost its way, I only gave this just 2 3/4 stars. Stephanie Vaquer versus Tiffany Stratton for the Women's Crown Jewel title, to me, was disappointing. The pacing, timing, and control were all there, and they were working well together and had the fundamentals down. But then they just went to the finish with that corkscrew splash, and that was it. It wasn't abrupt in a botched way or anything. They just ended it. The problem here was time. They didn't get enough time to build this into what it should have been. What you got was a decent Raw match when this needed to be a really good pay-per-view match. The talent was there. The work was there. But they needed more time to develop it properly. Instead, it felt like a Raw match that happened to be on Crown Jewel. This had potential, but never got the chance to reach at it. I give this one just 2.5 stars. John Cena versus AJ Styles delivered exactly what it needed to deliver. Cena won with a tombstone and then the AA, but that finish was just part of the story that they told. The whole match was an ode to Cena's career with him doing moves from his old rivals. You got callbacks to Miz, Rusev, Undertaker, Triple H, Shawn Michaels, Orton, etc. And they structured it to some moments that felt organic to me and flowed naturally while others were spotlighted for the crowd to pop. I thought that balance worked here. I thought it was fun because of how they put it together, not just them just doing the spots alone. The match had a logic to it, even with all the references here. To me, this gets 4.5 stars because they executed the concept and made it entertaining and fun instead of just an old tribute match. Io Sky and Rhea Ripley versus the Kabuki Warriors hit the level you want from tag teams that can work. The exchanges throughout had near falls that landed. The team dynamics between Io and Rhea I thought was solid, and the Kabuki Warriors especially were excellent here in this match. The key sequence here was the moonsault near fall that transitioned into the springboard dropkick by Io. That's where the match elevated for me. They built the momentum through that stretch, and it paid off. Io and Rhea got the win with the riptide into a moonsault, and for me, this gets 4 1/4 stars. Seth Rollins versus Cody Rhodes for the Crown Jewel title took time to find its rhythm, but once it did, they had something going. Now, again, it took a while to get going, but once it did, the action was starting to pick up and it became stronger. They had the time to work, and they used that time. I thought the pacing worked for the most part, even with that slow start. The crossroads from the top rope I thought was some really good stuff, and that Spanish fly from Rollins I thought was dope. And the watch story played throughout this, and I thought it was smart booking here. Cody gave Rollins that watch after WrestleMania 40, and here it came back to haunt him. Rollins used that to set up the curb stop finish. That story element added weight to the match. What separated this from just being good was the structure. They built it up properly, even with the slow beginning, and by the end, they had something that worked at a high level. I gave this one 4 1/4 stars. Crown Jewel 2025 was a show that started rough and finished strong enough to make it worth a purchase. The Australian street fight where Roman and Reed got dragged down by interference that turned into a segment. The Women's Crown Jewel title match between Vaquer and Stratton, I thought disappointed because they didn't get the time that they needed, and it also felt like a Raw match instead of a pay-per-view. But then the show recovered in the second half. Cena vs. Styles I thought was great fun with nostalgia callbacks done right. The women's tag with Io and Rhea against the Kabuki Warriors delivered strong tag team action, and Rollins and Rhodes closed it out with a really great main event, in my opinion, that was built around the Watch story. 3 consecutive great matches in the second half carried this show, and that consistency justifies the purchase price. I give this an 8.0 out of 10. I recommend this show.